How's it going, everybody, and welcome to the channel. So today we are painting the fenders on the WRX. I cracked the fenders when I was rolling them, so now I want to repair the paint so there's no rust. We're going to go through prep, which is sanding and masking off. We're going to go through priming it, painting it, the clear coat I use, which is 2K clear coat, a blender I use, buffing it down and making it look the best we can. Now, this is my first time doing this. This is off research I learned from other YouTube videos. And this is also a track car, so I do not need it to be a professional job. I don't need it to be show car quality, but I'm going to do the best I can to ensure no rust will happen on this vehicle. So let's jump into it. First thing we're going to do is we're going to sand the chip area because we want to get off the chip paint. We want to sand down the little bit of rust, and then we eventually want to feather it out and get rid of all the lines from the lower grit sandpaper. So as a first step, we're going to start with 120 grit sandpaper and work our way up from there. Alright, so taking a closer look, there's no rust, we are down to the bare metal, and if we rub our finger back and forth, no additional paint flakes off. Same over here, and over here. So now we're going to go over it with 320 grit and feather out the edges a little bit. And now for final sanding, we're going to go with 600 grit sandpaper, and we're going to expand this all the way out here because we want to scuff up the original clear so the new clear bonds to it and blends in. At least that's what they say online. Now we're going to go over it with some isopropyl alcohol. That's to remove all the contaminants. Seems about how it's supposed to look from the other videos I watched online. We can see over here, bare metal. The clear coat is scuffed up so the new clear coat will hold, no rust, all shiny. And now since we have everything sanded down, we're going to mask off the areas that we don't want paint to get. And then once the tape is down, we can lay the plastic over and put another layer of tape so it seals nicely and the plastic doesn't move, so that when we're spray painting where we need to spray paint, there will be no overspray. And then before I spray the primer, I tape off a little bit more. This is where we're going to want to blend the clear coat, but I don't want to get any primer there. So I'm limiting the primer just to where it needs to go. So after shaking the primer, we're just going to lay down a flash coat. A flash coat is a very light coat that you give about 10 minutes to dry, and then you can apply the additional coats until you have the correct coverage. So now that the primer has dried, we can remove these two layers of tape. These two layers of tape was so the primer didn't spread to an area where it didn't need to be. Alright, so the tape is off, and I imagine you can see in the video, the primer, where the primer ends and where the paint starts. So right now, if we rub our finger across, we can feel a little lip. What we want to do is get rid of that. What I'm going to use to get rid of that is 600 grit sandpaper, and I'm going to wet sand it, and I'm just going to lightly go over this, specifically targeting the edge at first. And then I'm going to lightly go over everything. When you rub your finger across it, if you have your eyes closed, you should not be able to tell where the paint stops, or where the primer stops and the clear coat starts. Okay, feels pretty good. So now the last thing we're going to do is go over it again with isopropyl alcohol. We need to do this because I just sanded. I just put my fingers against it. We need to get any oil from my fingers that are on the primer off. Just put a little bit on. Just go over a time or two. Now it should be all ready for paint. Alright, so now to paint the car, we have paint from the touchupshop.com. There's a couple of different providers. You need the paint code from your car, which you could find on the door jamb. So now what we're going to do with the paint is we're going to try and cover up all the primer. We don't need to go all the way to the tape. We just need to cover up the primer. So we're going to first, again, hit it with a flash coat, allow that to dry for about 10 minutes, and then go back and reapply coats until we cover all the primer with the paint. Paint is dry and now we're ready for clear coat. So what I'm going to do is, because this was a larger spot, there's smaller spots on the other fender liners where I didn't have to go as far, but since I had to go farther on this one than expected, I'm actually going to move this tape back a little bit, and that's so we can not only cover this section with clear coat, but also the overspray of the clear coat will go here, and then we can go over this section with a blender, and that should allow the new clear coat to blend in with the old clear coat a little bit better. Okay, now that we have the tape moved, what we should do is go over this and wet sand it with 1000 grit sandpaper. I don't have 1000 grit sandpaper, and since this is just going to be a track car and the intent is to cover up the bare metal so it doesn't rust, I'm going to skip that step. So what we're going to do now is go over it with isopropyl alcohol, and I'll explain the clear coat we're using. So what I'm going to be using is 2K clear coat. This is supposed to be thicker and more durable. And the difference between 1K and 2K is 2 parts. 1K you just take off the lid and spray it. 2K is 2 parts. It has an activator. So it comes with this little red plug in the top. You push it in the bottom and push it down. That releases the activator. Shake it 2 minutes before, 2 minutes after, and within 24 hours, whether you use all this or not, you can't reuse it again because it hardens in here. The activator is a hardener. So the clear coat we are going to spray here. There will be a little bit of overspray that gets here, and then we are going to spray the spot blender over the overspray, and that should help dissolve some of the existing clear coat and mix it in with the new clear coat. Alright, easy as that. Now that the clear coat's down, we're just waiting on it to dry. I'm not going to spray anymore. I put the spot blender down. We can take off the plastic sheet and all the tape. Okay, it is the next day. Now you can kind of see where the new paint is, where the overspray landed. So you can see our tape was right here. Overspray's here, and then once we get down to here, this is where the thick clear coat is laid on. Now what we're going to be using to do this is a 6-inch orbital buffer. We have the, maybe 6.5 inch, I don't know. We have the correction pad as well. And then for our first pass, we are going to use this Ultra Cut compound. It says it cutting removes 1200 grit or finer, sandpaper marks, so should be what we want, but this is my first time doing this, so let's see how it works. Alright, we're all done with all the steps. Overall, I'm extremely happy with how it turned out. It does not look like a show car. If I paid a shop to do this, I would not be happy with the quality job done. But since I did this myself for around $80 for all the materials, I fixed all 4 fenders. There is no exposed metal anymore. It looks overall pretty good to me. I'm sure if I entered it in a show car or if somebody was looking at it at a car show, they would know it was repainted. But for me, it's good enough. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something or found something of value in this video to help you repaint your car, or was just entertaining in general. If you liked the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you like these type of videos, you can go ahead and subscribe to the channel. But either way, it is on to the next project for me.